Greetings to everyone out there in YouTube land. I'm Ahmed Hassanin, and I just want to give a shout out to Coach Dan. Thank you for all the support you show the team and the players. Everyone hit the like, subscription button, and yell woo in the comments. Thank you, and go Lions.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Mcdc'S, a.k.a. First Ballot.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Hey, it's Lions Talk Live. It is a Tuesday morning show edition. You've had about 48 hours or at least 2 days to get over the loss in Green Bay. We're going to start breaking some things down. As someone who's coached for a long time, I don't ever like questioning another coach or their decisions, but as a journalist, you do have to do that from time to time. We're going to be talking about this a little bit during the main topic of the day. Get the Dew Crew's thoughts. Start breaking down some stuff. It is way early in the season, so how much will this hold true 3-4 weeks from now, let alone the end of the year? We'll find out. But as most of you are aware, the Lions had an opportunity to hire somebody who was already with their staffing department. That's Tanner Ekstrand. And you know what? I think when you watch the replay of the Lions game offensively, when you watch the replay of the New York Jets, and then you watch last night's Monday Night Football game, we'll talk about it, see what you guys' thoughts are. I'm sure some of you guys have watched it, some of you haven't, but we're going to dive into it. And I will say this in John Morton's defense. Sometimes it does take a little time to put in some of what you want to do, what they've done before. And the Green Bay defense maybe is better than most of us anticipated. They did look pretty good on Sunday. We're going to dive into that during the main topic of the day and break it on down. Was this a bad move by McDc'S not hiring or retaining Tanner Ekstrand? Remember, he wanted to stay in Detroit. Detroit does not decide to go with him. He had been the understudy for Ben Johnson for 2 straight seasons, so he knew all the offense as intimately as any person on planet Earth. When you watch the Jets, it was kind of like watching the Bears last night. You saw a whole lot of similarities to what we've seen in recent years in Detroit with the offense. All right, before we get into the 5 headlines now, before we get into the main topic of the day and everything else in between, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We are 28 subs away from hitting 14,500. If you can help out with that, I surely would be thankful, and I'll give you a crisp high five. Also, if you have a half second of time, it won't cost you anything. Reach on down, hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. Last but most certainly never least, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the continental United States, let alone the state of Michigan where I reside, go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. You see the number on the screen, 269-998-2384. We can have a quick conversation, see what we can do to save you some time, save you some money, save you some hassle. It can be vacant land, commercial property, new house, old house, everything in between. Give me a call. Let me use that experience for you and make sure nobody overcharges you, overworks you, et cetera, et cetera. All right, that all set out of the way. Let's get the show rocking and rolling and going and kicking off with 5 headlines now. All right, we got 5 glorious headlines heading your way. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Jared Goff's sudden tone change should wake up Dan Campbell. Fan side story by Joseph Grasserino. We talked about this obviously during the main top of the day. I didn't want to run in with it again, but Jared Goff did have some conversations with reporters. It kind of came up again. You know, I'm going to paraphrase some of it here, give you some direct quotes on other aspects of it. Goff simply talked to reporters and said, "We should be great." That is a direct quote. And, quote, "the urgency needs to be there," end quote. Goff was asked a little bit about some of the changes in coordinators. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who now, as you guys probably know, is the head coach of the Chicago Bears. John Morton said, hey, sometimes changes, and this is where I'm paraphrasing, sometimes change takes a little time to come into play. Also does kind of call some people out and says, hey, I think we could be doing some things a little bit differently from an urgency standpoint to get guys on the same page as the coordinators, to kind of change some things in practice. You know, I don't want to dive in this too much because it'll be part of what we talk about in the main topic of the day, but I think Jared Goff's right. If you're the Detroit Lions, you have a window of opportunity to win now. You can't worry about tomorrow when you got to live in today. Today's work pays dividends for the future, and he thinks in a nutshell, Detroit Lions need to hit the floor, or the field, I should say, on Wednesday or Tuesday when they get back to practice, or probably Wednesday for them. I'd have to check the schedule. But anyway, when they get out there, they've got to try to work some things out. Most of us watching the game would say, hey, the offense didn't quite look like it was on the same page. Some of that was the offensive line. Speaking of the offensive line, let me bring something up for you. I was going to do it in another segment, but might as well just do it now. Let's see. Maybe I forgot where I put it. Anyways, the Lions' offensive grades came out for the blocking assignment for the offensive line. Let's just say it wasn't the greatest out there, but some of that I think is to be anticipated when you have mostly rookies out there. Taylor Decker, and this is just pass blocking. It is not the run blocking grades. The run blocking grades were about as bad as some of these. Decker, Graham Glasgow, Sam Laporta, and Penei Sewell all had decent pass blocking grades, although you can see, man, Penei Sewell, you get below a 75, that's not good, let alone a 70. And Penei Sewell, he did struggle a little bit. We talked about it on yesterday's show a bit. I thought, man, you did these guys a disservice. You've got so many new parts out there. You need to get them on the field together during the preseason. That didn't happen. So you know what? That first half against Green Bay, that was your preseason. And you're doing it against an elite defensive line. That's a tough ask of any offensive line. Brock Wright struggled. Jahmyr Gibbs struggled. Dave Montgomery struggled. And who struggled more than anybody out there? Tate Ratledge. Yeah, he did not have himself much of a ball game. But Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, both of them below a 45. I mean, you barely have a pulse out there. You want to know why the offense didn't look great? I would submit to you, the jury, the judge, and the executioners, maybe when your two interior offensive linemen, the younger guys, aren't pass blocking worth a dang, it's hard to really keep a passing game going. So I think it will improve exponentially, but these are some thoughts for us all to chew on this morning. All right, let's go on to the next of the 5 headlines now. Lions offensive struggles on first game since coordinator Ben Johnson departure. The Associated Press, Steve McGree. I bring on the Associated Press any chance I get because rarely do they talk about the Detroit Lions, at least in depth. The other part of it is, I worked for the AP years and years ago. You're not really assigned one team to typically cover. You're assigned a region to cover. So if you can get somebody to analyze who's not directly involved in the Detroit Lions, chances are you're going to get some harsh realities when they break it down. He breaks it down in the story, and I think what we can all agree on, the changes, subtle as they may be, with the Detroit Lions offense from what we've seen the last few years to what we saw at least on Sunday, are noticeable. You don't see too much pre-snap adjustments. You don't see too many pre-snap motions, and these things make it a little bit harder for a quarterback, let alone the blocking assignments, to figure out what's going on with the defense, especially the front seven. Secondary also, somebody travels, somebody doesn't. Yeah, these are subtle changes, be able to tell if it's man-to-man or zone, etc. Although I'm pretty sure most people could tell real quickly, especially if you're a coach on the field. The Packers played, I guess, probably 70 to 80%, maybe close to 85% zone coverage and drop 7, etc. They relied on that front four to get their whole lot. But when breaking on down, this is a great story. If you guys have time today, go check it out. He does do some pretty good analyzation about, at least in one game, the differences you're seeing between John Morton and Ben Johnson. Don't want to dive into the story too much because we are going to talk about it more in length during the main topic of the day. But you know what? You got something to do. You got some time to kill today. Might want to look into this one. All right, 3 wide receivers who will bounce back in week 2. Yard Barker, Dylan Eggfield. We'll go with that. Probably killing that name, but oh well. In this one, I think we all agree Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, arguably maybe the best wide receiver. And he did not have himself a game. He had 4 catches for 45 yards. Again, talking about the offensive struggles, why do we lose that game? The defense, for sure, did not play well in that first quarter. After the first quarter, I think most of us could agree it was adequate. Maybe not great, but it was adequate. They did some things. The first quarter, though, fried them. Detroit Lions offense, while they did have some sustained long drives, they did not score touchdowns. And especially for a group in the red zone recent years, that was one of their strengths. You got into the red zone, they were putting up points that didn't happen. Why is that? Is the pass blocking? Is it, changes in the coordinator? I don't know, but I think the likelihood that St. Brown is kept in check this upcoming weekend for 2 straight weeks to start the NFL season, probably not going to happen. With that also being said, there's a lot of points of emphasis that we're going to be talking about in the main topic of the day that need to come to fruition. It would be my full anticipation. MCDC is probably going to have to be a little bit more hands-on trying to assert himself. You heard what Jared Goff had to say. You've had some other players kind of talk to the media about it when asked questions. St. Brown, he's one of the leaders of this team. He knows he needs to get the ball. Sam Laporta, I thought he had a pretty good week 1, but outside of that, he might have been the only one in the receiving department. Yes, he's a tight end, but he does go out and catch passes that really had a pretty good game. All right, next to the 5, headlines out. Lions head coach Dan Campbell drops bottom line on facing Ben Johnson Bears in week 2. Clutch points. Richard Pereira with this one. He ain't wrong. He understands. They know him. He understands Ben Johnson knows the Detroit Lions as good as any person on planet Earth. He also says we know Ben Johnson as good as any coach that we're going to face this year. There's a whole lot on the ride for this particular game. For those who stayed up late enough to watch the whole game, the Bears, they didn't look bad, neither did the Vikings. And yes, the Bears lost the game. So Detroit Lions versus Chicago Bears, both teams are 0-1. This is going to set up a big, big, big opportunity for one team to get to 500. And yes, it's week 2, but you probably don't want to be 0-2 after this week. The Bears, I thought, did not look bad. You can see some of the adjustments he's already made, Ben Johnson's already made with their offense. We can dive into that later this week when we break down the game. The Lions, hey, they're going to be at home. That's a plus. They're going to be fairly healthy. That's another big plus. But MCDC made no bones about it. He already came out and said this is a big game. After losing at Green Bay, facing your former offensive coordinator, who's now the coach of the Chicago Bears, on another NFC North rivalry game, neither team's going to want to go 0-2 to start the season in the division, let alone the regular season. This is going to be a big game for both teams, and Dan Campbell seems like he's not afraid to mince words about it. Lions need to win this game. All right, last up 5, glorious headlines now. Detroit Lions fans questioning new coordinators won't like what Alex Anzalone has to say. Story by Mike Moratis of the Sporting News. You may have already seen this video. If not, I'll bring it up to you. I'm not going to play the video on here because I know YouTube will probably drop a big hammer on me. But right after the game, in the locker room, afterwards, people already put mics in front of the vast majority of the players, asking him questions about, hey, man, what do you think about John Morton? Should we fire him? Should he be gone or whatever? And this is after week 1. Some of you guys even texted me and said, we need to fire MCDC. And this is after 1 game of the regular season. I guess that's part of being a coach. You coach long enough, you know what's going to happen. You don't win a game, people are going to question it. You win a game, people are going to question you. What I can tell you is Alex Anzalone said people questioning already after 1 game aren't that smart or bright, I think. His direct quote is, that isn't highly intelligent. Anybody who's asking. Whoever is saying that is not highly intelligent, says Alex Anzalone. So here's what I'll throw out there. It does take time for new coordinators to kind of find their way with teams. The problem I have as a coach is you've had 6 weeks or whatever it was leading up to week 1. There should be no team on the rest of the schedule you are better prepared for than your week 1 opponent. Why is that, you ask? You've had months, and I mean months, before you even get to training camp to prepare for that team. If you didn't know what the Green Bay Packers were going to do with returning coordinators for the most part, their defense coordinator, I'm pretty sure he'll have an opportunity to be a head coach next year. Does a phenomenal job, in my humble opinion. But you should have been more prepared than that. I will give the fan base that credit because you know what? You've had 6 weeks to do everything you can offensively to try to make sure week 1, this is going to be one of our best prepared games out there. After that, you get really 3 practices from week 1 to 2, 2 to 3, etc., to really prepare for that particular team. The fact the Lions didn't look better on offense, more scripted, better rehearsed for it. And so for me as a coach, that's a troubling sign. Of course, I'm not Ben Johnson. I'm not, John Morton. I'm not MCDC or whoever else you want to list. I think it's fair to question it. I think what Alex Anzalone says is also correct, though. You got to give him some time. I'm not firing anybody if I'm a GM or owner after one game, because the other part of it is if you fire him and replace him, who the heck's going to come coach for you? If I have to win every game to not get fired, that's no place I want to be. I've got other opportunities. In the one thing I will throw out there for those who say fire McDc'S, fire John Morton or whoever else you want to list, if you are going to fire coaches after one game and if they lose, who's going to come coach for you? People that don't have opportunities to coach anywhere else. Anybody who gets to choose between team A, B, or C, and you're one of those three, I'm not picking you. I'm not going to go coach for you. So you're going to get left with some scrub who's got no opportunity to coach anywhere else, and you are really rolling the dice that somehow the coach nobody else wants is going to be that diamond in the rough for you. That's at least my humble opinions on that. All right, with all that done out of the way, let's get the show on over to the main topic of the day. Tanner Ekstrand, like I already talked about, he was the understudy for Ben Johnson when he was here with the Detroit Lions for seasons. The last couple of seasons, you could tell McDc'S knew that the likelihood Ben Johnson was going to leave was going to happen. So he started putting Tanner in place to try to understudy, have him be the heir apparent for Ben Johnson. And it made a whole lot of sense to, I think, everybody watching this show the last few years. I mean, he basically was the offensive coordinator with the Detroit Lions, just basically in the shadows of Ben Johnson. He knew everything about the playbook, everything about the system, everything you want to see. You watch week one with the Jets, and you know what? It looks like the Detroit Lions offense last year. You see all the pre-snap motions, people doing this, that, and the other thing. You watch the blocking at the offensive line, even though I'm not a fan of it, doesn't mean it doesn't work. The way they pull the left tackle over to block the right guard, and et cetera, spot, just stuff like that. It looks 100% like the Detroit Lions. You look from the past couple years. You also look at what they have at quarterback, some of their offensive weapons. The Jets were not a very powerful offense the last several years. They're also doing it with a first-year quarterback in Fields who, just hadn't been even with the team prior to the season. And what they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would think who's going to be maybe a top 15, maybe a top 10 defense out there. I think that's a lot of good stuff week one from them, even though it obviously didn't go their way. That also being said, you look at the Chicago Bears last night, you see what Ben Johnson did. He's installed a lot of stuff. I know a lot of people said, man, him and Caleb Williams weren't getting along. At the end of the day, who cares as long as it produces on the field? And I think the Chicago Bears are going to be pretty dang good this year offensively, vastly improved over the past couple years. Their defense, that's a different story. Now you look at John Morton. Again, he's had months to prepare for the Green Bay Packers. He's had 6 weeks at the very least to get this team ready for terminology, anything else you want out there. You want to look at the offensive line. We gave you those grades. I'll give you one more time in case you're just joining the show. There's your pass blocking grades. I do not have in any kind of graphic for you the run blocking grades, but they're just about as abysmal as this pass blocking grades. Yes, Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, young guys, they got blown up. We talked about when we were leading into the Green Bay game. If I'm the Packers, I'm going after them early and often, try to confuse them, and that is what happened. While they did have moments they looked good, it seemed like every time the Packers threw something new as far as formation or splint or stunt or pull, that's where those two really got exposed. I will say Christian Mahogany had some moments he looked dang good. He had some other moments where he got blown up if you watch the tape. So it's going to be hard for any offensive coordinator to do much if you don't have any faith in your offensive line to last more than 2 seconds. How much will they improve? My guess is we all get it. Hank Fraley is one of the best offensive line coaches out there. So give them a few more weeks, few more months, whatever you want to say. By the end of the season, those two guys are going to be vastly improved, would be my expectation. The problem with that statement is how many weeks, how many months, how many games go by in that amount of time. Lions are in a dogfight here. I know a lot of people across national media, social media, Lions fan base media say, hey, we need to get Frank Ragnow back. You know what? Larry Bird ain't walking through that door, somebody once said when it came to the Boston Celtics, and I don't think Ragnow is coming out of retirement to help save the day. The other part is Ragnow, by retiring, probably tells you what he thinks his body, what kind of status his body's in. It's probably not that good. Even if he came out of retirement today, listen to the show, calls me up right now and says, Coach Dan, get me back on the field. You know what? It's going to take time for him to get in shape and conditioning and reemerge with that unit. How many weeks is that? So I would say probably put that one to rest unless there's an injury where you got to get him in. The question I have for the Duke crew this morning, and I'm probably going on a tangent in 4 or 5 different ways. MCDC had the opportunity to re-sign or hire, promote, however you want to term it, Tanner as the offense coordinator. He chose not to. He let him go then at that point to the Jets. He wanted to be here, Tanner Ekstrand, but didn't get the opportunity. Why is that? It's only 1 week of watching the John Morton offense, but what are your thoughts off it? The fact, I've already talked about it a little bit, you didn't really have any kind of motion, which we saw St. Brown use to his advantage for years here. Jameson Williams, why don't we have any of that? It could happen this week. I don't know if it will, though, because if you didn't do it for 4 quarters there or very limited week 1, I don't anticipate all of a sudden it's going to be all over the place in week 2. The Lions went into that game knowing that was going to be a big, big opportunity. You win that game in Green Bay, you're in real good position early in the year for the NFC North. But you know what? I guess I've got as many questions as you guys probably have, so hit me with some knowledge. Throw it in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Why do you think MCDC went with John Morton, who is not a part of the Detroit Lions coaching staff the prior 2 years? He was in 2021. And Tanner Ekstrand, who is here, part of the greatest show in Ford Field Turf, whatever names you want to call the Ben Johnson offense during those times. Knew everything about it. Probably could just say, hey, I've got the plays all here. We're good to go. We don't need anything else. Why did he go in a different direction? I learned a long time ago as a coach, if it ain't broke, don't try to change it. But I do have some questions. Maybe these questions get answered Sunday. And I'm not dropping the hammer on the season. I'm not saying, man, it's all doom and gloom from here. I'm asking questions today because I do think these questions are legitimate. You guys may not. It's okay to have your own opinion. But my opinion is Lions and MCDC may have fumbled the football, metaphorically, by not hiring Tanner Ekstrand and instead going to John Morton. John Morton, great guy. Hey, played at Western Michigan University, coached at Western Michigan University. Shout out Broncos. Also, the first college job I ever had coaching was at Western Michigan University. So I don't want to be rude to him or anything, but early on, you are what you are as a coach. Your results are who you are. What, right, wrong, or indifferent. Here's what I'd say. John Morton, there better be a big upturn in the offense's production this week. Otherwise, man, oh man, the fan base is going to go crazy. You guys get that. I get that. And you know what? The players will start jumping on that as well. All right, Duke, let's get over to you guys. Anthony from Roar Lions UK won't be in today. He'll be in tomorrow. He's got some super secret assignments going on in his work schedule that he must attend to. All right, let me scroll to the top of the screen. Give me a second if you please. I'm almost there. All right, Trey, what's going on, everybody? Question mark. Chicago and Mini both look good, in your opinion, last night. Much better than our offense. They did. Point blank, I couldn't agree with you more. The wife, as you guys know, Jen, she doesn't really pay attention to football, but in her eyes, just kind of watching it while she was also sleeping, she's like, man, they look way better than the Detroit Lions. They have more time to prepare, and that's the other point. Lions had 2 extra weeks to get ready, offensively, defensively. They also had an extra preseason game. And again, not the belated point, but me as a coach, you need to use those preseason games because how much better, even if you use 2 of them, to get the guys some reps in first quarter, maybe the first half or whatever, to get that offensive line ready for game 1. Get the timing down offensively. The offense is a problem to teach because most of it is rhythmic, is timing, dealing with situations. In my in my experience, I'd say defense is more about teaching aggression, reactionary, etc., unleashing the beast within. As the season goes on, you get more calculated. But early in the season, that's why typically defenses have an advantage. It's just harder for offenses to mimic what a defense can do quickly. And that's also why I think the Lions, if it was me, I would revisit that idea that we're not playing the first stringers in the preseason going forward. You can't do anything about it now, but going forward, you can. Garrett, morning, everyone. Back at you. How you doing today? Susan, morning, coach. The Bears aren't going to be pushovers. I agree. I thought Williams looked legit overall, dual threat as well. Yeah, he showed his wheels. He showed his legs. Showed his arm strength, accuracy on the run. He looked more like USC Caleb Williams, which most of you, if you don't know, I am a USC fan. I think he's going to be a problem for years to come. He's going to be something. Big Eddie, our new OC and DC are going to need time to gel with the team. I'd agree with that. My thoughts are this season, as long as we get into the playoffs, we have a chance to win it all. Have to show improvement this week. Yeah, from just an X and O standpoint, that's all I want. Yes, it stinks that you lost the first game, but you win this week. You're 1-1. Maybe you pull out the win in Baltimore, and then you got the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, though, they pushed the Baltimore Ravens around a little bit. Not the Baltimore Ravens, but the Bengals around the first week. I think they're going to be a little bit tougher than anticipated just because that defense is pretty legit. But Big Eddie, to your point, you just get in the playoffs. You got an opportunity to win it all. That's all I want this year. John, morning coach and crew. After last night's game, we might get third best in the North. It's going to be a dogfight, 100%. But can we do what we did last year in the NFC North? 3 teams make the playoffs. I think it's very possible. But you know what? You got to get wins when wins are available. You got to get this weekend. Jim, it is time to turn this around. Get the run game not only going, but exploding. I like the way you're thinking. Yeah, and I think we probably all, if you watched media yesterday, you understand Lions running backs 16 out of 22 times or something like that got hit in the backfield first instead of behind the line of scrimmage. Can't have that. Say good morning, coach and Duke crew! Exclamation point. Happy for the Bears loss. Young McCarthy hung tough. He did. And you know what? He looked better than I would have guessed first game of the season. Just Grip morning, Carrie, Trey Tipton, and Duke crew. Everyone take a deep breath and relax. I'll try to do that. DC will get this right. Sunday isn't going to be easy as I thought. No, it's not going to be easy. The Bears, I thought their offense looked vastly better. Their defense was a little concerning, at least in my eyes. Not as strong as I thought they had been last year, but I also know they had a couple guys out, especially in the secondary. 70. Good morning, boys! Exclamation point. JJ and Caleb both look good and can run. Why do their offenses look so much farther ahead of ours? It's a good question, and I don't have an answer. Like I said, they had 2 less weeks to prepare than what we did. Now, with that also being said, you also have 2 teams that played their first strings, at least in some portion of the preseason. I know a lot of us threw some shade at the Chicago Bears for running up the score. I think it was on the Buffalo Bills in the preseason. But here's a question. How much more confidence does that first string have going out there, going through the preseason, getting some of those learning curves out of the way there versus week 1 against Minnesota or vice versa, Minnesota versus Chicago? I can only tell you based on my experience as a coach, it makes a big difference. And that's one thing, even though I have nothing but respect for Dan Campbell, it's one thing I do question about it and would love to hear his thought process about it. Gary, so just as I thought, Bears defeated the score more than I thought they would. Vikings scored less. All right. France, rise and shine, Duke crew. Yes, not the results we won the first week, but time to move forward. Agreed. Can't change it. Now you need to think positively about the next game. Our defense looked much better as the game went on. It did Sunday. I will say that. It did. Our offense is my concern. Right now, I'd say that's probably most of it. If we go into week 1 before we played the Green Bay Packers, and I told you that, man, 3/4 of the game, we gave up, 7 points? You probably thought the Lions would have won. The problem was the first quarter, we gave up 17. And then I don't think anybody would have guessed we would have only scored 1 touchdown. But it is what it is. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke crew. What a team. What a podcast. Exclamation point. What time be a Lions fan. Woo! Good to see you as all, Henry. John, I think we overspent on skill players. Now our line is suspect. If to try to protect everybody, here's what I would say. The one problem I have with the retirement of Frank Ragnow is that he did it after free agency and he did it after the draft. You kind of put the team in a bad spot there. And it's nothing against Frank Ragnow. I'm sure he was doing everything he could to see, man, is my body right? Am I going to be able to play? I think I might be able to. And then he came obviously to the conclusion ultimately that he couldn't go forward. He made the best decision for him. No disrespect for that. But the other part of it is because he did it after the draft and after free agency, Lions were really limited at that point what they could do to go get a new center or guard to replace, somebody or whatever. I do think that limited the Lions' options exponentially. And because of it, now they're going to have to live with it. Drake, I'm thinking a lot of the Duke crew stayed up way too late watching the game, laughing out loud. 1 game at a time. We got this. I like the way you're thinking, 100%. Cynthia, in my humble opinion, I don't think this season is going to be a breeze. Fight with grit and grind all the way. Exclamation point, 100%. Yeah, it's not going to be a good or easy season. We knew that coming in. It was going to be a challenging season. My thing is, maybe you win the division, maybe you don't, but make the playoffs. You make the playoffs. You went through the meat grinder that this season is. You are relying on very young guys, for the most part, at 2 key spots in that offensive line and at least 1 key spot on the defensive line right now until Lee McNeil gets back in game shape, etc. When those guys get some experience, maybe the things really do turn around with that offensive line. We know it was a brutal week 1. It doesn't mean it has to be a brutal week 2, 3, etc. Great morning, Jess. Bears didn't look really impressive. JG, I'll go with that. Rock, good morning. All time to regain the grit and fix what they can this week. Big game Sunday. It is a big game. You win this game, it will help calm down the fan base, probably the player base, and you know what? You start moving forward, start focusing on Baltimore. Just greetings, Sanitation Dew Crew. You are right on that, Drake Lisbon. I did not want to get my butt out of bed today, so I'm watching from my bed. Hey, way to find a compromise. Good move there. Michael, nobody talking about McDc'S getting blackmailed for embarrassing the Packers and fans for 3 straight years in their home opener versus Lions. Let the smoke clear instead of throwing more. Woo! All right. Yeah, I guess I don't know about that. I guess I didn't know he was blackmailed, so I'll have to find out. Kerry, JJ had the type of learning curve game I expected. I'll go with that. Henry Moore, I say half the NFL is 0-1. You are correct. Time to get our head out of our 4th point and contact and start taking care of business. Exclamation point. Yeah, can't change the past. Time to think forward and go forward. 5 figures ready. Good point on that. Henry Moore, we need Sunday's game big time now, though. I concur. Mary Smith, Queen Mary. Good morning, Dan and Duke Crew. To all my brothers and Queens of Lions Talk Live, hope everyone is feeling better today because yesterday some of y'all went off the chain. We better than that. Let's go Lions. Always, 100%. Yeah, I get people being under their emotions a little bit after the loss. You know, we didn't want to lose that game. We kind of felt like we didn't play well. But you know what? You can't live in the past. Otherwise, there's an old saying in sports, if you live in the past, you're not in the now, and now you're going to make 2 mistakes. Don't let 1 loss become 2 losses, become 3 losses. You make a mistake, it happens. Now move forward. How do you get the smell of the loss, the feed off you? Go out there and get the victory this Sunday. Jessica, I believe in our team and coaches. We'll find a way to win this season. I like the way you're thinking. JDC, morning all. How you doing today? Coach Rock, just me talking, but give me a young, energetic offensive coordinator who will try to make the name for himself, someone like Ben Johnson was. Huh? You had Tanner, and unfortunately, and only McDc'S can answer why he didn't retain him. The question I have with not hiring Tanner Extrand as the offensive coordinator is you kept him as the understudy directly in contact with Ben Johnson for 2 straight seasons. So it seemed, at least to me, you guys can have your thoughts, let me know them, that they were planning on doing that, letting him become the offense coordinator when they knew Ben Johnson ultimately would leave. Why did that change? I don't know. DM5, we have too much talent to look as bad as we did Sunday. I look for things to get better if and only if the play calling gets better and we play with a sense of urgency. Yeah, you sound like Jared Goff there, DM5. Well said. So small. I was shocked when we didn't hire Tanner. I agree with that. Rock's same with the defense coordinator too. True. True. Sosimo says Rock. DM5. Kelvin Shepard is in over his head, and John Moore is calling plays from the Lions' 1957 championship. Well, hey, it worked for them then. Hopefully he gets it turned around now. Tori, I was surprised the Bears and Vikings defenses did not look great. Yeah, normally early in the year, you guys all know the adage, defenses look better. I thought their offenses, both teams' offenses look pretty good. Defenses, not bad, just not great. City Medley, good morning, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. Back at you. How's Cairo today in the afternoon? Man Bear, good morning, all. And as always, good to see you, Man Bear. Coach Rock, good morning, Hassan. How is your son doing with his recovery? Good question there. Inquiring minds want to know. Pat, anyone see our offensive line scores? If not, you've at least seen the pass blocking ones now. DM5 Brad Holmes should be trading for a starting guard right now. I wonder if they've had any conversations. I mean, Glasgow, as you guys saw with the scores, I'll bring it back up, did not do horribly, at least in pass blocking. He was second best on the team. But also, look at those scores. None of the pass blocking was great out there, and that does not show the run blocking, which across the board wasn't good. Cynthia, it's a new day! Exclamation point. Anything is possible for our Detroit Lions. Proactive gets the win. I'll take that. Not reactive. There you go. Mary Smith, Troy Apple, my thoughts exactly, but Caleb looks a little better starting out, but back to his old self. Yeah, he had some at the start of the game. We get it. He went 10 for 10 or something like that, and then he threw like 4 or 5 straight incompletions. He's developing. How much will he look better from week 1 to week 2? Only way to find out to see that game. Hopefully the Lions make him look real bad on Sunday. Coach Rock, just not keen to see a coordinator in the booth who looks my age get some youth. Hey, we'll find out what they do. I don't think they're going to replace anybody, though, before week 2 of the regular season. Man, Barrett, it's Tuesday, and I still have a hangover from how the Lions lost on Sunday. Yeah, I get it, man. Totally get it, man. But you know what? You got to focus on Sunday and the Chicago Bears now. Check them. It's not the fact that we lost the game. It's the way we lost. Yes, offensively, did not look great. Again, not to beat down a dead horse or anything, I thought the defense, you get to the end of the first quarter, we'll just say second quarter, I didn't think it played terribly. But that first quarter, I just think if you played them at all in the preseason, some of those miscommunications, some of the misassignments, all that stuff, Dan Campbell refers to them as the MAs, by the way, if you watch press conference, that's missed assignments. I think you absolve some of that, remove some of that, and then maybe it's a game because you're not down 17-3. Mary Smith, Cynthia agreed. Coach Rock, good morning, Mary. We need all the grit this week, too. Woo! I'll take that. Mary Smith agreed. Check him. Man, Barrett, is there any injury updates as of yet? No, we should have them probably tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the first ones of the week. Terry Arnold, I know DC said he doesn't think it's going to be a big deal for them, but with it being a groin injury, I would expect him to be out this week. Been wrong before, though. Lion-O, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew Worldwide! Exclamation point. Haters will always hate, while true fans endure! Exclamation point. Lions and Lightning and Thundercats. Ho! I'm down with that. Steve, we will regroup. I do wish Brad would have traded for Parsons versus letting him go to Green Bay. We have a window taking management. Well, it is what it is now. It's in the past. Could he make some other move? I know some of you guys that said, hey, maybe we trade for, Trey Hendrickson or somebody at this point. I mean, it's possible, but I just don't think if Brad Holmes hasn't done anything by now, I don't think he's going to do it now, but maybe we'll see. Cynthia, Jacob, good point. Exclamation point. I'm down with that. Dre Day, greetings, salutations, Duku. The Bears and Vikings both looked good last night, but how now there is film to study and time for the Lions to get refocused. We still have better roster, just need to fix the mistakes. 100%. You fix some of the things. I know some of you guys were not happy with my comments yesterday. I thought the opener game came down to really like 10 to 12 plays. You get those 10 or 12 plays, you take away some points from the other team, you add points to your team. That's just, of course, my coaching, philosophy, I guess. Jacob, third down conversions killed us. It did indeed. Mike K, do we stink? I don't think we stink, but we did not play well. I think we'd all agree with that week 1. DM5, cheap Brad Holmes is probably right now rummaging the facility and parking lot looking for loose change. Should have paid Zettler enough to stay. Yeah, I do wonder, could you have overpaid to keep Zeitler? If you could have, then maybe you would have. But it's from what I know, DM5, he just wanted to be closer to his family. I get it, but it would have been real nice to have had him, right? Joseph, my garden looks beautiful. Nothing wrong with that. Jacob, Glasgow is going to be a problem at center. Might be true. Mary Smith, you got it, Rock. Let's bring up a notch. Woo! I'll take up the woos a notch there, Mary. Let's see, Jennifer, morning all. Back at you. Until then, I agree we should have gone with Tanner. Extra, I've given up on Morton, but Tanner would have been the best choice. Yeah, I'm really surprised by it, not just in hindsight. I think we talked about it when he was hired away or John Morton was hired in. Why would you give the guy the assignment to understudy for 2 seasons directly under Ben Johnson, clearly having the plan he's going to be the new OC, and then it didn't happen. Jennifer, Tanner was a loss. It was a bit of a loss, in my opinion. Kim, is Tanner still available? No, he is the New York Football Jets. He was with Aaron Glenn. Once DC did not hire him by hiring John Morton, he did take off and became the Jets. So that tells you, Aaron Glenn's like, hey, if you ain't going to take him, where does he sign here? Jacob Morton as a play caller has to improve tremendously. 9-minute drives, no scores. Yes, and some of that, I'm torn both ways on it. I'm torn that he could improve, yes. I'm also torn that the offensive line didn't do the team any solids at moments where they're just communication breakdowns. Of course, I'm going to say that. I'm also going to say if you play him in the preseason, maybe there's less of that in week 1 of the regular season. All right, Miles Martin, greeting, sanitation, coach and crew. Lions working hard this week. I think they will, man. I have to imagine every player on the Detroit Lions is uber focused on the 3 practices or 4 practices you might get with a walkthrough and then to the Chicago Bears. If there's ever a game they want to unleash the fury, go out there and prove their worth, it's probably going to be this weekend. And the Bears aren't going to be oblivious to that either. They're going to say, hey, you got to play your best game ever right here because they're about ready to maul you. Big D, the sky is falling. Hey, guys, the sky is falling. I'm telling you, the sky is falling. Laughing out loud. Look, good morning, Duke Crew. Yeah, I don't know if it's falling, but, you definitely want to pay attention to it. Coach Rock, good morning, Miles Martin. We need to bring the grit this week to help this ship back on course. Get this ship back on course 100%. Jennifer, the Bears look like the Lions did last year. Morton has a problem. All right. DM5, Brad, Cheapskate, Jerome, Value Homes. Okay. Yeah. We'll see if he invests some money somewhere. Big D, 9-minute drives not scoring isn't Morton's fault. No, there's blame to go around. I'm not going to blame one person. It's never one person, in my opinion, at least. Thomas, last night was great seeing the Bears struggle. Okay. Art, I say give John Morton a chance, but I would rather see him on the sidelines. Bring up the booth bugs me. Yes, I know I need to get over it. Yeah, I don't know if there's really an intrinsic value one way or the other. I know some people say if I'm on the sideline, I get a better feel for things, and I probably agree with that. There's other people who say, man, if I'm up in the booth, though, I see the field as a totality. I can see more of what the other team's doing or trying to do. I guess whatever works best for you, as long as it produces, go with it. Let's see, Mary Smith, Miles Martin, they better be or the Queen of Grit going to bring the with BTA. Hey, bring the BTA. All right, Troy, good morning, Duke Crew. Anxious to see the improvements and changes we have made come this Sunday against the Bears. Our trenches are a serious question. It is right now. There's no doubt about it. I think you're spot on with that, Troy. 100%. And good morning to you, my friend. Big D, big difference between Justin Fields and Goff, though. Big difference. And the fact that I thought Fields looked pretty decent. Overall, not completely. Drady, I trust Brad. Brad gave the team the players they need, and Dan picked the right coaches. Adjustments need to be made, but if MCDC is wrong, he's not afraid to change coaches. No, we've seen in the past with Anthony Lynn. I would just say to you guys, I wouldn't expect if they're going to make a change, which I'm not suggesting they will, but it's not going to be week 1 or week 2. I think that's way too early for something like that. Big D, the sky is falling. Well, you got to jump over the sky then, right? Thomas, he had 2 rookie guards basically and a aging veteran center at Glasgow. Yeah, Thomas, that's the one thing I would say. You're facing one of the best defensive lines, it would appear, in the NFL in the Green Bay Packers. Now, the other part of that is that starting lineup for the Detroit Lions on the offense line, that was really their first action. Again, not why I would not play them in the preseason. I would have played them in the preseason. With all that being said, though, this is all correctable stuff. And, going forward, as long as we see correction or adjustments, I guess that's all you can really say. I do say, though, Frank Ragnow retiring after free agency and after the draft put the Lions and Frank Haley, the MCDC, in a tough spot. At that point, what free agents are left to sign if you need to go sign somebody? It's not like you can go back and say, well, he retired, let's redo the draft. Obviously, that's not going to happen. You made the best with what you could. Kurt, Bridge Jumpers Unite. Hey, got to have a united front. Big D laughing out loud at Kurt Steele. Thomas, as I said a dozen times prior to that game, beware, exclamation point, not playing starters with new coaches in preseason. I was not surprised. No, I wanted to be wrong. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we were wrong. Kurt Steele, Big D, I know, right? Henry Moore, I watched our Lions lose for years. I was ready to change teams, but couldn't do it. The way I see it, I am in it for life. Yeah, I think probably most of us are. So, well said, Henry. Well said. Joe, with the O-line play, Ben Johnson was going to have problems running plays versus Green Bay. Agreed with that. Jacob, why are we playing man-to-man coverage when we don't have the speed in the secondary to do that? We should have been playing zone. We did play some zone Sunday, but after the first quarter, I thought the defense looked noticeably better. The one thing I would say is you go back and rewatch it early in the game, and then in the second half, too, I want to say the Packers went with 6-7 people blocking. They knew what the Lions were going to do, what coverage they're going to get. They also probably knew Terran Arnold was dealing with some lower leg injuries, and they knew that, hey, you haven't played these guys in the preseason at all. There are going to be some miscommunications. We're going to try to take advantage of that, and I thought the Green Bay Packers, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. They did the right things, in my opinion, to take advantage of it. And really, 2 or 3 of those plays don't go their way because you shut them down. You have a game throughout that game for both teams because I didn't think after the first quarter, the Green Bay offense didn't do a ton. They did some, but not a ton. All right, Kurt Steele, Cliff Divers Assemble. We'll do that. Big D laughing. Michael, 11 all. They did the truth. Kurt Steele, 11 all. Oh, my gosh. Splash. Well, explicitly flash there, Big D. Thomas, Howie Roseman and the Eagles will win again. He is out there making moves to win. Brad, let's keep the core together and miss our Super Bowl window. What I'll say to that is, because I've talked about it for, I feel like 2 years now on the show. When I've been a GM or a coach, here's what I'd say. You feel like you're good, you go in now. There's no guarantees every draft pick is going to turn out. There's no guarantees people don't get hurt. You have a window of opportunity that year. You go for that year and figure it out the following year. Howie Roseman, I think he more or less does that. I guess you could say the LA Rams more or less did that. We knew we were good then. They would say, hey, get rid of those picks. We don't know. There's no guarantees these guys pan out. There's no guarantees they're going to be high draft picks or whatever. If I'm Brad Holmes, I would have done it. Brad Holmes ain't doing that, though. Jacob, I think they were picking on Arnold because he is the weakest link in the secondary. They did pick on him, like you said. I think probably because they knew he was hurt, a little beat up, etc. Vincent E. Morton isn't him. We'll find out. Good morning, by the way, my friend. Michael, it was reported here and in the news that Tanner, I was playing both teams against for more money and let him walk. It could have been that. I don't remember offhand, but I do want to say, now that you bring that up, I do want to say Tanner was trying to push for more and more, and then MCDC eventually said, nah, I'm good and out of here. Not good point on that. Trim Reaper, practice? Hey, there's practice. Thomas, O-line looked awful. Not one grade at 70, not even Sewell. Run and pass blocking, terrible. 2 yards of carry. Again, why I would have played them together in the preseason some. Rocky Kurt, and if I haven't jumped ship since the 1950s, I'm too old to go anywhere else. Laughing out loud. Version to the mean, the offensive line is the obvious concern. It needs more focus. Did the line make Morton look worse or vice versa? Could be both, but we'll find out more as the season goes on. Kurt Steele, Rock, you know it. Mary Smith, Henry, I feel you. I just used to quit every season and can be back for the next year. I just can't help it. I love my Lions. Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat there. Lauren, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew, to the world-famous Duke Crew. Woo! Back at you, and thank you for that, Lauren. Jacob, the running game should feature Montgomery more. I wonder if they will. Kurt Steele, none of those things that went wrong with the Lions Sunday aren't fixable. I agree with that, 100%. They are fixable, and probably in a hurry. Joseph, imagine rooting against your team. Some people will do that. Liam 5, cheap Brad Holmes is probably right now scoring the practice field looking for loose change and fans dropping during training camp. Yeah, maybe. Hey, you got to fix that, the salary cap, right? Version of me, the offensive line is obviously concerned. It needs focus now. The Lions make Morton look worse or vice versa. Good. Yeah, we'll find out as time goes on. Big D, it was our first game and we got our butts kicked. We did. They all should feel ashamed and agreed that they believe it would be motivation for the team, at least for Dan has always bounced back. Yes, let's hope we bounce back. Derek, the offensive line looked like they had not played for 6 months or so. That was my observation. I think that's a good observation. JDC, Magic 8 Ball says, defense wins the big one. I concur. JDC, greetings and salutations, coach and crew. Exclamation point. Thomas, the Bears were playing without Jalen Johnson and TJ Edwards and Tyler Gordon. That's 3 of their top 10 defenders. Yes, I knew they had a couple guys out. I don't know if they'll be back for Sunday or not. So maybe some of you guys know. Throw that in the comment section. Benjamin, terrible play calling. Morton had plenty of time to build a playbook. No excuse for his ineptness. Okay. Same old soup just reheated. Tardy but present. Thank you, my friend. Joseph, Bears fans and Lions chat. Hilarious. It happens, man. It happens. Coach Rock, Mary, my problem is I love all my Detroit teams up and down. There is so not going ever. Yeah, I don't think any of us are. Morton looked like a DJ showing up to a wedding, modern wedding with a turntable and vinyl records, version of the main says. The Trim Reaper, maturity isn't an age, it is a destination. I concur. Henry Moore, absolutely. Mary Smith, go Lions. I like the way you're thinking. Thomas, I feel like DC and Brad knows this will be a down year. Going back to Brad's press conference, he would not say Super Bowl. Yeah, we'll see. Only way we're going to find out how this season unfolds is to watch it, right? Say Madley, Mr. Rock, my son Ahmed Hassanin is doing well. His recovery and training, keeping his body healthy for the injury is getting healed. We'll be fine. I like that. Tell them all we're sending well wishes and thoughts and praise. Dabber, I do question some of the Shep defensive alignments. Man, having Davenport and Hutch drop into coverage was comical, especially on third down. Don Burr, you and I couldn't agree more on that. I get maybe doing it once, but to do it, I stopped counting on Hutchinson dropping, I want to say in the third quarter, second quarter, something like that. He had dropped 3 or 4 times. DM5, Morton was calling plays from 1956 championship. He's got to get better quickly. We'll find out. Smoke you some. Good to see you. Been a while since I've seen it. Where's the band's fan? We'll find out. Coach Rock, Chicago looked like Ben put in some tricky plays, but sure they were saving a couple for this week for the Detroit Lions. Beware. Yeah, I have no doubt he's going to unleash them on us. We just got to be ready. Trim Reaver, smash that like button, brother. Thank you for that. Hit the like and subscribe. Thomas, I was ripping the Bears fans last night for Ryan Poles passing on Jaden Daniels. Yeah, it is what it is. Coach Rock, that's good news, Hassanin. I agree. Jennifer, smash the like button. Thank you for that, Jennifer. Same old soup. 199 watching, only 54 likes. Please help out the channel by hitting the like button. Yes, hit the like and subscribe, and thank you, everybody. Number, people are all on Morton involvement. Question, the defense pass rush was so bad, but having 2 nose tackles as your pass rushers won't get it. Tyleek and Reader, good against the run, but not pass rushers. I agree with that. And I want to say Patty O'Connor, that crazy Irishman, he was actually one of the more effective pass rushers out there on last Sunday. Let's see. Jacob, the offense looked completely out of sync. I concur. They look rusty, and maybe they should have been playing more in the preseason. I've already spoken on that. I feel like a whole lot. You guys get my stance on it as a coach. Creative idea. I don't think so, Lion. O-line and D-line can get fixes in weeks till towards 7 to 10. You should see some improvement this week. Usually, in my experience, whether it's college football or pro football, there's a noticeable difference from 1 to 2. But that being said, you guys already know what I would have been doing for those preseason games. Jennifer, Mr. Hassan, we need good news. He is getting better. It sounds like he is. Version of the main, Kelvin Shepard looked like he showed up a chess tournament with a backgammon set. Hey, well, at least he showed up, right? That's got to count for something. Aaron Smith, we all know who's really down. We don't drop our team because they didn't do say the course, and waiting timing is everything. Yeah, wait and see to the totality of the season. I remember the year that we went 1-6 to start the year. Everybody's calling for DC to get fired. Everybody, killed Goff, all that stuff, just going up and down. And then we nearly make the playoffs if only the Rams wouldn't have got messed over and they would have won the game. Or maybe it was the Rams. I don't remember. Somebody. Anyways, Michael. Rock, I'm first one to throw the towel. Hey, it happens. Jacob, I don't think we need to panic, but we need to be concerned because we have a hard schedule. We do have a hard schedule. Big M, once the defense settles in, I thought we did good. Being honest, TA got 8 alive, though. He did. How much of that is lack of preparation, lack of conditioning, the groin injury, the hamstring injury? If they really thought he was hurt, though, they should not have had him out there. That's, coaching 101. Donkey, I'm betting the $200K on Baltimore in week 3. All right. Well, let's hope that doesn't work for you, I'm guessing. Coach Rock, you're in trouble when your coordinator looks like he had a pencil behind his ear. Okay. Jake K, game was funny, fake last night. All right. Thomas, I blame DC. This is his 4th defensive line coach in 4 years. Can't keep the coordinators and that defensive line, especially with the coach. To your point, those who texted me yesterday, this is the point I brought up. If you're going to fire people left and right, nobody's going to come coach for you because they don't want to go through that. JDC I ain't scared to go Lions. DM5 Kelvin Shepard was out there playing Go Fish in a poker tournament. Hassan Manley, good morning, Mr. Big Eddie. Thumbs up. Thomas, 6-11. Derek, the defensive line for Minnesota and Chicago are even better than Green Bay. I don't see our offensive line holding up against either of them. Vincent E. Morton equals Lynn. Michael, the only team in the North without a sack or a single pressure. I thought we had some pressures. Maybe I'm wrong. JDC, Puff, woo, Coffee, and Lions Talk Live. Thank you for that. Version to the main, it's not, this is not panic. It is concern with the spotlight, and it's understandable. Okay. JK, WWE last night. Oh, fair enough. Maybe that was on last night. I don't know. I haven't watched it in years. Coach Rock, good news is this can all be fixed in time as long as we make the playoffs and we are the powerhouse and the chunging along with it. Yeah, you get to the playoffs as long as you clean some of this up, some of the younger guys develop. That's all that really matters. Get into the playoffs and see how we do. Joseph, puff, pass. So I'm down with that. Donkey Kong. The thing is, Lions were one of 2 NFL teams that looked absolutely pathetic, terrible in week 1. Let's hope we can change that. Art, I love what AA said about fans throwing shade after one game. Me too, my friend. Lions bad guy, the guy with the long blonde hair who drops the interception doesn't get to talk about. Hey, bad guy, I can't wait to see you out there in the NFL game, see how you do. Then you might find out it's not that easy as you think. Kurt Steele, how many of you guys talking trash can coach, mentor, and teach someone at the highest level in football, let alone call plays to the NFL? Asking for a friend. It's a good question. Thomas Tyrion, damn near ran 4.640, and we want him to match up with 4.3 and 4.4 guys. That's fair. Thomas, AA is right. Exclamation point. Some of the fans are dumb. Okay. Doing some scrub bowl next week. We'll find out. DM5 blamed cheapo Brad Holmes for nickel and dime Zettler. Brad Leroy Cheapskate Lamar Jerome Holmes. Okay. Let's see, Michael. BJ lost. AG lost. Get over the loss and move on, guys. Yes, you're not going to probably win every game. Coach Rock laughing out loud. Kurt laughing for a friend, but true as that is. Vincent, yeah, it was much man defense. It was too much man defense. Thomas, Brad Holmes has ignored the pass rush every time. Might be something to that. Jennifer, the Bears are going to be coming here ticked off. If we are not ready, this will not go well, and Morton will feel the heat even more. If he doesn't do well, he will feel some heat. I hate saying it, but it's part of coaching. Well, good morning, Coach and Duke crew. Woo! I made a live show. Good to see you. Mary Smith, Professor Steele, good morning, and I want to know who, too. I want to know, too. Cynthia, spot on, Professor Steele, exclamation point. JDC, Joseph Erie, Plan B, DM5, Kurt Steele. To be honest, I think he can at least say, J-Mo, go deep. I do think they had some things dialed up there, just didn't take them. Is that because the offensive line? Is it because Goff didn't see it? I mean, who knows, man? We'll find out. Let's see. Rock, reason for all the talk is because MCDC fired an offense coordinator before, so they're just all thinking. Yeah, 100%. But he didn't do it after week 1, though. Mary, Walt Marks, good morning. Welcome. JK, I can act, might be acting like last night. All right. JK, just saying. Michigan man, we should trade John Morton for John Gruden. Ooh, there you go. Till Don, I agree with Alex Anzalone. Overall, the Lions fan base is not highly intelligent, overacting after one game. Yeah, we'll give him a few games. Joseph, YouTube chat guy, can call plays for the team he doesn't root for. All right, that's a bold strategy. Jacob, calling for a coach to be fired is ridiculous. Calling for the coach to be accountable is right on the mark. I'll go with that. Jennifer Michigan man, totally agree. Walmart, good morning. Mary Smith. Mick, only bright side. Tesla looked like a Megatron. He needs more than 3 snaps last week. This is true, and I think you probably will get him. DC did say they were planning on getting him more, but because of his illness, he just didn't get to practice that much. Kurt Steele, some people can get on here and talk arrogantly about coaches, players, or executives like they know or can do better. Exclamation point. It's okay to be upset the team you support. I'll go with that. JK, it's not the coaches, it's not the owners, not the staff, it's us. All right, Thomas, Tanner Ekstrand, young understudy, let him walk out the door for a retread. John Morton. Yeah, could it be that Ekstrand was trying to do something to work it out to his benefit? That I don't know. And then maybe MCDC said, "Hey, if you're gonna do that, you're out of here." Kurt Steele newsflash: you're not in the NFL for a reason, family. Just saying. Mary Smith, good morning. Attila, agreed with you on that. Thomas. Frank is enjoying fishing. It does sound like that. Anymore, who here wants MCDC fired? I have no idea. He's the best coach since 1980. Yeah, I did get about 3 or 4 messages about that yesterday. DM5, Kurt Steele, to be honest, I really don't think any of us could have called a much worse game than John Morton. That might be accurate. Silver Server, good morning, Coach everyone. Back at you. Mary Smith, Professor Steele, spot on. Professor Steele, 1 game and the same old Lions crew is out. Strong numbers. It is. Phil, good morning. Good morning, Phil. How you doing today? Working on a new guitar, it looks like. Hushko, Johnny Moe got to go. Exclamation point. Jennifer, I am not looking forward to this game with the Bears facing the bottom of the division with a loss. No faith in old man Morton. All right. JK, by the way, Morton and I are the same age, and my teams are still kicking butt. Whether it's, high school, professionally, or collegiately. JK, wait on 101 is not enough to drop defensive end. And see, Big D, Goff has no time to throw, can't go deep if he's 2 seconds to throw. Joseph, good morning, Kurt Steele. Phil, every team looked ready to play, but the Lions, confusing. It's not confusing to me. I mean, you guys already know my thoughts. Play them in the preseason. Derek, I don't have to be in the NFL to see that our offensive line is suspect. I have eyes. Yeah, it did not do well, did it? DM5, play like trash, get criticized. That's the simple. It's that simple. Kurt Steele, Mary Smith, Silver Server. Phil, good morning, my grit brothers. Thomas, this will be a down year, guys. Get used to it. The Lions will be good next year again. All right, I'll go with that. Enos, John Morton is going to be our downfall. He's too old and run a basic offense. Maybe we'll find out. I don't think the age has anything to do with it. There are people in the NFL older than Morton that are doing just fine. Courtney, communication? Well, yeah, I do think there was a lack of communication. Jennifer, I can hear the boo birds for the Bears and Morton. John Mary, good morning. Dan, the ultra fabulous new crew. Exclamation point. I think they need to give Tesla way more field time. I think he will get it. Hopefully they can figure it out. Yeah, if he wasn't sick last week, it sounds like that was going to be part of the plan there, Mary. All right, I'm going to give you guys about 10 minutes, and I got to get out of here. Big D, we'll be fine, guys. I want to hear all this when we rip off 5 wins in a row. I like the way you are thinking, my friend. Server. Yeah, Coach Tanner was perfect for the job. You could feel his presence was a mistake to let him go. Perhaps he felt he would have had more offensive freedom with AG. Yeah, it could be, and that's why he's in with New York. Silent Service, it's because he's the head coach and not you, and you run the team the way he wants. Otherwise, you're not the head coach. Might as well quit. I'll go with that. Antoine Jackson, well, yeah, it's 1 game out of 18. Yeah, they didn't go great. Sometimes you just have to give the other team credit. I agreed with that. What is well said, my friend. DM5, this is not the time to baby the Lions. They are unprepared and looked like trash. Call them out, every single player and coach, and yes, cheapo Brad Holmes. All right, Kurt Steele. So much doom and gloom from the fan base after 1 game. If you can flip that quick, are you really rooting for the team? Ooh, that's a question. Coach Rock, Amy Tesla will be ready this week and will be practicing all week, yes, without the illness. DM5, astronomical ticket prices, and you reward us with trash. Well, one thing does not preclude the other. Free for all. Another person I haven't seen in a hot second. How long before Dan Campbell takes over the play call? We'll have to find out. Only time will reveal that answer. All right, with 10 minutes left, we're going to overtime. I'm going to look through the chat for people who haven't been on as much. Let's see, Grant, what do you got? Campbell has mentioned several times that Morton has no desire to be a head coach. I thought from the beginning he was looking for a long-term continuity at offense coordinator. Extrain will be a head coach within 2 years. Yeah, it could be just that. Millicent Fisher, but did anyone notice how quickly Caleb Williams became a skull in the end of the 4th quarter? We'll find out. Let's see, Don Kong, 3-17. All right, hey, we're on the board with the win, though. It's courtesy of understanding, being disappointed, but whining about something you cannot control or do better job than, but better than a person doing is crazy. All right? Let me tell you, as long as I've coached, there's all sorts of people in the stands telling me, even though I've coached 36 years, I've won 91% of my games in any sport, and yet all the fans are telling me what I'm doing wrong. So there's that part too, I guess. Let's see, Coach Rock, is there a top quarterback coming out of college this year? I like Goff, but we need someone to learn behind him. Maybe we're taking, not that I'm aware, but I haven't really looked at the draft yet. All right, Jason, Levi Stadium or bust. I like the way you're thinking. Free for all. Could it be that the players have been reading their own press? Maybe. That's a fair question. They heard how easy everything was going to be because they were so good. All right. Enos T, John Morton is not creative enough to run a successful offense. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it does get more creative. Joseph, they whine, make no mistake. It happens, man. Michael, my prediction remains strong. 7-10. Brad dropped the ball without addressing the pass rush long season. Could be. Tampa Bay struggled, needed some Baker heroics to come back against the bad Falcons team. Eagles looked like mortals against a bad Cowboys team. Common theme, new offense coordinators. Oh, good calls there. Thomas, don't worry, guys. We can wait another 60 years plus. Everyone relax. Hey, we'll try to relax. Thank you for giving us that. Johnny Gans, good morning, Duke Crew. Has everyone recovered from overaction Monday? I'll leave that to your devices. Al, Morton reminds me of the old lines. Way too conservative. Run, pass on every series. And I count those little dink and dunk passes runs. Okay? Phil, come on, Kurt. That's not fair. Kim, when games are lost by a landslide, MCDC says players weren't prepared, and that's on him. Why did the coaches not prepare them? Question mark. That's a place to start. You always, I've already shared my thoughts. I get your point, but I'm just saying I'm not going to comment further because you guys already know it. Joseph, I blame Brad and Dan for your expectations. Kurt, I'm so petty and reckless. Yeah, all right, fair enough. JDC, Motor City Duke Crew, back at you. Marcus, me too, Kurt Steele, fair weather fans, exclamation point. Joseph, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke Crew, exclamation point. I'm ready for us to go get back to the winning side. We haven't lost 2 games in a row since the beginning of 2022. Let's go Lions. Hey, let's make that happen once again and not do 2 in a row. Hey, Kurt, take your head out of the sand. They stunk and need to turn it around. It just doesn't happen automatically. I'll go with that. Joseph, YouTube chat guy will be calling plays. We'll find out. We'll see if we can get him promoted. So, Kurt, don't you have your own show? Why do you save your talk for your show? It's because nobody watches. Oh boy, here we go. Thomas, true, laughing out loud. Phil, Can it overreaction Monday for a reason? Yeah, sometimes we do all overreact. Whatever I'm trying to say. Good morning, Dooku. Exactly, Kurt. Well, that's why I wasn't in yesterday. I wasn't going to see people throw stones at our Lions. Yeah, you may have done the right thing there. Trimmer, smoke you some. I got something for you to smoke. All right, it's good to share. Kurt, you know nothing of importance to me and the vast of the majority of the people. Let's see, Cynthia, happy birthday, Dad! Exclamation point, a fellow member of the Duke Crew. Well, happy birthday, and hey, just for the birthday, let's give you a 1, 2, and a 3 on the screen. And there you go. Richard, John Morton, only offense coordinator job was with the Jets in 2017 and averaged only 18.6 points per game. Let's hope he can improve upon that. We're going to need him to improve upon that. Jacob is in awe. Jeremy, what do you got? Hopefully we get that done on Sunday. I like the way you're thinking. Marcus, AA was right. Exclamation point. Now Lions fans are fighting each other. Well, hey, hopefully just on the screen and not on the streets. Jennifer, Kurt Steele, you're welcome. Dan needs to check someone on here. Out of line. We are all friends. Yeah, keep it friendly in the chat. Originally, I mean, here's the bright side. 5 years ago, we wouldn't have even blinked at a loss like this. We are better now, and we will be okay. I hope we will be okay. Silver Server. Let's see, I think Coach Campbell is going to have to get even more involved in the offense. Bottom line is that offensive line was smacked in the mouth from the get-go. It was, man. It was shown the door a little bit. Phil, should have, could have, would have is moot. Lions are who they are. Trust in the process. We're going to have to trust in it for sure. Hookadoo, Coach Rock, Miles Margaret, Carey, top of the morning. Grit wins. I like some grit. Let's see, Derek. Being obviously over-optimistic fan won't change the fact that our offensive line can't protect Goff. I get everybody's concerns about the offensive line. What do you do about it here today? That would be my question. Marcus, class is in session. Hey, nothing wrong with learning something today. Motown Sports Travel, don't mess with the Flintstone. Kurt Steele, I concur. Same old hoop. The past is yesterday and no longer exists, just as tomorrow doesn't exist yet. What exists is now and today. Stop thinking about things that do not exist. Tomorrow will not be guaranteed to live today. Hey, well said. Joseph, all right. It's better to just come on and say nasty things like this guy stinks and he's stupid. All right. Yeah, some people, that's what they want to do. Thomas, I have been a fan for almost 50 years. I have no more patience. Well, I don't know what to do for them. You know, it is what it is. I don't think the patience will affect it one way or the other. Joseph, yeah, Thomas, I've been a fan since 1973. All right. Let's see. Melissa Fisher, Lions will clean it up. Patience. There is no instant gratification. 70, some of the Lions fans need to get off the ledge. It's not the end of the world. However, the offensive line and the defensive line were terrible. Those are reflectable situations. Yeah, I thought the defensive line was okay against the run, but getting pressure on the quarterback, that was obviously the problem. Amy, I can only imagine Sheila is not happy to say the least. If McDc'S doesn't make correction, guys, she will. All right? Paulie, the Lions need a quarterback who won't abandon the scripted play and can run like a Daniels or Hurts. Go Lions. All right, who do we get? It's easy to say that's what we want to get, but how do you get that person, and who do you get? That's the question I always like to throw out there. Bears, we're going to do Morton did it. All right, maybe accurate. Dennis, we worried about the injuries on the back end, and I'm worried about the Lions this year. Trusting Goff, I'll go with that. Later, Duke Crew, we'll see a Man of Steel. Have a good one. Mary Smith, Steph, 100% agreed. Trim Reaper, later Professor Steele. Joseph, good day, Mr. Steele. Let's see. Michael, 16 teams lost this weekend. We always start off slow season, and the last 3 years, we end up with winning records. Stop with the madness. All right, we'll try to stop the madness. Joseph, a little late for that. All right. Looking for some other people that haven't been on as much. Miles Margaret, team's got a grit this week for sure. And good morning, Hookadoo. Mary Smith, Professor Steele, have a blessed day. I concur. Let's see. Henry Moore, rock on Kurt Steele. Well, let's hope he is rocking. Randy, Bears didn't look so good after first quarter. No, the first quarter looked good. Then it was not as good offensively. Silver Sir, can't believe some of the talk about jumping ship. If you're a Lions, if you're a Lion, you are a Lion. What else are you going to make up? All right, well, we'll see what they do. To each their own. Motown Sports Travel, Dan. Hey, I am Dan. Brian, good morning, everyone. Watched Lions show yesterday and talk about Morton being 50 and the only other OC job he's had. Remember, there's a reason he's not been hired. Could be. The only thing I'd say to you guys, in just my opinion, doesn't have to be your opinion. Age doesn't have anything to do with it, man. I've seen some coaches start their career at 50 and been highly successful. So for those who want to be ageists, I guess, to each their own. I'm not going to say I'm not questioning the guy with some stuff. That's obviously part of the main topic of the day. I just don't think age has something to do with it. Mary, Miles Barker, agreed. Courtney, in December, we will be looking at the playoffs and home field winning record. I'm down with that. Christian Birch, not understanding the TA criticism. Some of the coverage schemes put Branch and Kirby in horrible spots. Could be a fair question to ask. Walt, hit the thumbs up button for Dan and the Duke crew. Woo! Thank you for that. Imagine the players could have drafted not Hooker or Rakestraw. Love Dan starting to think Dan Campbell is truly ahead some of his decisions in Brad. I've got no problem with MCDC. I do wonder why he didn't hire Tanner Ekstrand. As far as Hooker and Rakestraw, if you know the GM out there that's hit on 100% of the draft picks over a 2 or 3 year window, let me know. What I can say is the NFL average is like just under or just below 50% for NFL GM's success rate, and Brad Holmes is close to 80. So that tells me Brad Holmes is 30% better than the average. There's only like 1 or 2 GMs across the NFL that are in his range. So I'm not going to beat the guy up for 2 guys that didn't work out. Trim Raver, Ben Little Johnson. All right, Aaron, they need to start Wingo. I wonder, how far along he is from his recovery. Notice Fisher, we have a team doing the wrong things at the wrong time, playing a team doing the right things at the right time. Gameplay will cleaner in time. Yeah, it will probably clean up. Big M, so Dan taking a few weeks to get up to speed. Up to speed should have been happening in the preseason. I agree with that part. Really disappointed in Dan, but this team was unprepared. People pay a lot of money to watch this team. I'll go with all the above. I'm not even going to try that name. I apologize. If the Lions just score their average from last year, they win. I concur with that. Miles Barger, laughing out loud. Chicken soup, grandma's cure all. Hey, you got to love the chicken soup, right? Joe's Holmes was bullied by an edge at the high school. Might be accurate. Hookadoo, Phil, really, I'll go with that. Joseph, Brad Holmes saving money to start a new chain of dollar stores across the country. Hey, give him credit for that then. Check him. Most of the onus goes on Hank Fraley to fix the offensive line so Jared can throw the ball down the field and John Moe can call stretch plays. Yeah. If you don't believe in the offensive line, that will be a problem for deeper shots. Let's see, DM5 right on. Joe's, let's see, Jimmy. Lions are at their best from last year. Still wouldn't beat what I saw Sunday night. Lions beat this best this year hasn't been seen. It could be true. Coach Taneke, I didn't like what I saw. A conversation needs to be had. I'm just saying. And yeah, that was kind of the main topic of the day for sure. Let's see. SOLF Unite! Exclamation point. Same old Lions fans. Mary Smith. Everyone have a blessed day. See you all in the morning. We'll see you then. Pat, what was the score last night? Yeah, there we go. 27-24. Bears lost. Correct with that. Motown Sports Travel. How did JJ play? Camping now, enjoying nature. I thought he did okay. For his first game, very good. Phil, amazing. Thought the Bears were smoking them. Coaching matters. Vikings coach of the year for a reason. The non-labbers. The fan base needs to get over themselves. One game, we will be fine. Trust the process. We will be trusting. Still Reserve Wingo is ready to go. Yeah, we'll see if they get in sooner versus later. Okay, Happy Trails 2 Crew, One Pride Worldwide. Time to show some pride. We will have the Bears this weekend. Grit wins. Let's get it. Miles Barger, One Pride on 1. To Phil, I think the slow start was unexpected. Season is a marathon, not a sprint. I'll go with that. All right, guys, if there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you as soon as possible. If you would be so kind before checking out, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. We'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live.